cutting on and transplant it. That's how you get a new olive tree. So these are basically the babies or the descendants of the tree. So when the prophet Isaiah in chapter 11 verse 1 talks about this picture, it's very significant. He says, a new shoot will grow up out of the roots of Jesse. Jesse is the father of King David, who's the forefather of Jesus according to his human genealogy. And so we believe that this is a prophetic picture that is fulfilled in Jesus' life. Are the universities you're coming from a Christian university?
Yes.
Okay. Questions? Concerns? Jokes? Okay. Besides olive trees, we also have almond trees. Both the olives and the almonds are biblical trees. They both appear in the Bible. They've been important in this region for thousands of years. They're very well suited to the hot Mediterranean weather. However, the olive trees are more important than the almond trees, especially because of olive oil. More about olive oil later. Since the olive tree is more important than the almond tree, it appears more times in the Bible. It makes sense. This is Simon over here, my good friend. Hello, Simon. Everyone, please say hello to Simon.
Hello, Simon.
Thank you, everyone. Pretty well preserved after 2,000 years, wouldn't you say? You can take a photo with Simon or of Simon as you please.
Although, let's kill it.
You might try something. Come on down, don't be afraid.
Sheep don't bite.
Sheep don't bite, that's right. They might nip you by mistake, but they don't bite. Don't be afraid, they're more afraid of you than you are. This is Elijah, our shepherd. Please say hello to Elijah.
Hi, Elijah.
Elijah is going to talk to us about shepherd and sheep. Please, Elijah.
Hi. The Bible tells of sheep and shepherd as a picture through the whole Bible, from Genesis all the way through to Revelation. Simple picture to tell his people how much he cares for them. At that time and until much more time, all people were villagers. They understood what a sheep is and what a shepherd is and what shepherds do. David wrote one of the most beautiful shepherds, and it tells about what a good shepherd does. A good shepherd, he says, David, the Lord is my shepherd. I shall not want. So he provides all my needs. And then Jesus says, I am the good shepherd. Do you know what a good shepherd does?
Lays down his life for his sheep.
Lays down his life for his sheep. Jesus was telling his hearers that he's going to die for them. And Jesus says, my sheep know my voice, and they follow me. Here in the Middle East, the shepherd walks first, and the sheep follow. You will never see sheep and the shepherd behind. Always the shepherd is in front. And this is what Jesus is telling. He wants his followers to follow him. Jesus also said, I am the door of the sheep pen. Shepherds either lie down or sit at the door and keep their sheep. They don't go out or in, but through the shepherd. And this is what Jesus says. No one goes in or out through me.
Thank you. Those are all amens, of course.
Yeah, that's hilarious.
Thank you, Elijah.
Welcome.
Oh, funny too. They're talking.
That's the donkey up there
Yeah.
and the sheep.
They're like, who can be the loudest? That was so funny.
Yes, they're having Keep on coming in. There's lots of room right here near me. Please.
How you doing, big cat?
Keep on coming in, please. Lots of room still between the arches. There's room on the left as you come in as well. Lots of room there. In October and November, sometimes even December, we put them in the stone basin right here. Then we tie a donkey to the beam, and the donkey moves the stone round and round. Watch out, here I come. Okay, I know, I make a pretty good donkey. The stone is extremely heavy, maybe 12 or 1,400 pounds. It totally pulverizes the olives, smashing them to smithereens. Even the pit of the olives are crushed open. Then we've got baskets, like these round ones with a hole in the middle. We take the crushed olives from the stone basin by hand, fill the sides of the baskets until we have something that will look like a tire full of crushed olives. Once we've filled the baskets with a bunch of the crushed olives, we're ready for the next stage, which happens over here. Come on over. Let's squeeze in tight here. Just watch your step. There's a step down here. Please don't fall down. Okay. Big, long wood beams, very important. It acts as our cantilever. It also makes the weights applied get onto the baskets that we're squeezing. Tall timber doesn't really grow really well in this land, so it's probably imported from the north, from Lebanon. So, very important, the big long wood beam. Right here where I'm standing is where the press is, where the pressing happens. Into the floor is built a hole. It's about a ½ yard deep. On top of the hole in the floor, we stack our baskets one on top of each other into a stack. And then we lower the beam onto the baskets to squeeze them. The oil and the water drip into the hole in the floor, but God made physics very conveniently for us. Oil just happens to be lighter than water. How nice. We just wait a little bit, the oil floats to the top, and we can scoop the oil off the top. We have 3 stages or 3 pressings where we progressively add more and more weight to get more oil from the same baskets. And so you can see in the pit the 3 stone weights. They're about 500 kilograms or 1,100 pounds apiece. We lift them up with the winches. They're installed on the beam, and of course the beam applies the pressure to our stack of baskets. The first press oil is the best oil. This is virgin olive oil. This is also the first fruits, as is commanded in the law of Moses. The first part of every harvest, even the little green stuff coming out of the ground, is dedicated to him. And so the virgin oil, we believe most of it will be sent to Jerusalem in Jesus' time. We still have the temple, for example, to light the menorah, the 7-branch candelabra in the holy place in the temple. The second oil is for food and medicine, perfume and cosmetics. The third oil is the lowest quality oil. That's okay. They used it to light oil lamps like these and to make soap. Now, an olive press in ancient Hebrew is gat shmanim. This is actually two words. Gat is a press. Shmanim is oils, plural. Gat shmanim. Do you want to say gat shmanim for me, please?
Gat shmanim.
Thank you. Gat shmanim is where we get the word Gethsemane from. Gethsemane means olive press. And notice, it's on the Mount of Olives in Jerusalem. There are olive trees there and an olive press there. Hey, presto. That all fits together. Interesting, Jesus gets to Gethsemane and he begins to be disturbed. He knows he's going to be dying on the cross the next day. And he goes alone to pray to the Father. You might say Jesus is under a tremendous amount of pressure. Emotional, mental, spiritual stress. So much so, it tells us as he's praying, in his sweat come out drops of blood. It tells us Jesus is praying alone and he comes back to check on his disciples. And then he goes through this 3 times. Just like the olives are squeezed under tremendous pressure 3 times to get the precious olive oil. Cool? Questions?
Why are the holes in the baskets?
The hole creates kind of like a funnel for the oil and the water. It just helps the oil and the water drip through. Cool, let's carry on. All the way in.
Really good.
Okay, those are vertically gifted. Please be mindful of those who are not. Okay, go. Yep, come on in. Yes, there's lots of room right here. There's room for more people in front of the loom. More.
Get up in front.
Come on up. If you're vertically challenged, come to the front. Don't be ashamed. Come closer so you can see what's going on.
I'll try to got it all.
Okay, we need to keep coming on in because we still have people outside. This is going to be a bit of a tight squeeze, I know. Sorry. Keep it coming, keep it coming, keep it coming. That's right. Keep going until you got the last person. Need the last one, sir? Nope. No. Okay. All right. She's like the rear guard person. All right, everyone. This is Joseph R. Carpenter.
Shalom.
Shalom. No. He's using an adze. It's an axe, as you can see on the one side. It's also a multi-tool. This is a hammer. And we have a third special use. Okay. We also have the plane. Not an aeroplane, obviously. We have 2 black volcanic stones. One's rough. We use it for sandpaper. The smooth one, we have a special use for it. We rub our cheeks with it to make them nice and shiny. No. He sharpens his tools with it.
Where would it have come from?
We have lots of volcanic stones in the Galilee and in the Golan Heights. Obviously, there are some, active volcanoes at a certain point. Okay. All right, we've got various chisels of various sizes and shapes for different jobs. And we have one more tool we want to show you. This one, we want you to guess what it does. What is this thingy? I'll give you a clue. It's not a bow and arrow.
It's like a drill.
That is correct. This is called a bow drill. This is the original cork of the drill. Or corded, depending on how you look at it. You've heard of Makita, Bush, Black & Decker, DeWalt. This is the original model. Its name is Joseph & Son. All right. Now, the word in the New Testament that tells us what Joseph and Jesus did in the Greek is the word tekton. We have the modern word architect based on the word tekton. We believe that to translate tekton, it might be better to translate it builder rather than merely carpenter. We think that they did much more than make furniture. We think that they were possibly more generally involved in house building, We've got the beams and roofs and doors, but we think they may have also worked with the stone. Either way, this is skilled labor. You have to know what you're doing. Not so simple, and it's really hard work. So, if you've seen pictures or movies of a weak, scrawny-looking Jesus, probably not. Now, he probably wasn't gifted sideways like I am, but he's probably pretty strong from all those years of working hard with his daddy. Thanks, Joel.
Thank you
Let's
very
give a round of applause to Joseph, please.
Ta-da!
All right. There's not another group upstairs, right, Joseph? Yes, Bishop?
No.
Okay, good. We're going to split in half just to make this a little bit faster. All right, let's keep coming on up so that we can start. Come on in, come on up, and come on in. Again, if you're vertically gifted, please be mindful. Are you the last one, sir? No. No? Keep coming on in, folks. Keep it coming, please. Okay, everyone, this is Hannah R. Weaver.
Shalom.
Shalom, shalom.
You've seen our sheep. First order of business is?
Here.
Yeah, if anybody needs a little haircut this time of winter, even I do beard trim's pretty nice. Okay. Then we wash the wool in water to clean it, and then we dye the wool. We color the wool with natural things only, such as the skins of onions for yellow-brown. Different green growing plants, such as fig leaves and other green plants. We get a few different colors from the skins of pomegranates. I don't know if you realize, but there's different types of pomegranates, sweet, sour, sweet and sour. We drink, make juice, or we eat the insides, and then from the skins we make colors. Also from the sludge left over from making wine, maybe you can also make a red color as well. More expensive is the spice saffron for a deep golden color. But the most expensive colors to make, wow, thank you, are the blues and the purples. Blue and purple is very expensive to make. In this part of the world, what you needed to make blue and purple back then was a whole lot of, you guessed it, sea snails. Not the shell, but the actual animal inside. So you got a lot of work. You got to go to salt water, find thousands of these alive, and you got a complicated process to get blue and purple, including smushing the snails, and you've got to find a special chemical, fixative, to make the color stick to the wool. Whew, it's a lot of work. This is why blue and purple became known as the colors of royalty, because only very, very, very rich people like kings and emperors could afford to have clothes that were made exclusively with these colors. The next stage, Hannah's going to demonstrate for us, and that is spinning more thread. She takes a piece of wool that she's prepared or carded, adds it to the end of what she's been spinning like this. Look, no magic. And with the spindle, she spins more thread. She's rubbing the fingers of her left hand. She spins the spindle with her right at the same time. And she pulls at the top like this to control the thickness of the thread. Hannah has a way of making this look rather easy to do. It's not. She has 2019 years of experience. Ladies, it's all that olive oil. It's really good for your skin. Especially for Marcus' job. Anyway, the string is nice and strong, but it's pretty useless. If you try to use it, you'd see that it tangles because of the spinning action. So she's going to have to take it off of the spindle, put it into these kinds of tightly wound balls, and let it sit, ideally for about 4 weeks. After 4 weeks, it doesn't tangle and you can use it. She'll then take it double-threaded for strength and hang it on the loom. See? She ties it down with weights on the bottom, and she's made 2 rows, one to the front and one to the back of the loom, and she uses the shuttle to make new rows. We're going to show half the room and then show the other side. Don't worry if you can't see right now. We'll turn around. She takes one by one with her finger, strings from the back side of the loom past the front row, and then, using the shuttle, she passes it between the 2 to make the new horizontal row like this.
to the side.
Yes. One by one, pulling from the back past the front with her fingers. And the shuttle in horizontal row. She then has a comb. She uses the comb to tighten the row into place against the previous row, and that is how new rows are added. Woo! That was for you. The finished product is 100% wool. Totally, utterly handmade. No machines were involved in any step in the process, and all natural colors. No artificial colors, sweeteners, preservatives, sugars, non-GMO. No MSG, gluten-free, and vegan. It's all the work of Hannah. It's Hannah made. Please give a round of applause to Hannah. Thank you, Hannah. Woo!
I want to thank Nathaniel, and I want to thank all of you for visiting me. Nice to meet you. Have a nice day, and God bless you.
Thank you, Hannah. Okay.
בצילו חימדתי, בצילו ישרתי, בצילו חימדתי ופריו מתוק לחיכי. הביאני אל בית היין, ודגלו עלי אהבה. בצילו חימדתי, בצילו ישרתי, בצילו חימדתי ופריו מתוק לחיכי. תפוח בעצי
It's a worship song in Hebrew. The words are taken from the Songs of Solomon. It basically compares the beloved to an apple tree. Here we are in the synagogue. As far as I know, this is the only full-size replica of a first-century synagogue of its kind in the world. Not a model, full-scale building. We have 7 stone columns. This is not a coincidence. The number 7 in the Bible is the number for wholeness or completeness. The side storage room over here where we believe especially they kept jars like these where they would store their scrolls to protect them from the dust and the weather. These types of jars are actually replicas of the jars we found the Dead Sea Scrolls in Qumran. If you don't know what the Dead Sea Scrolls are, please look it up. This is why God created the internet. The materials in the buildings that you have seen are just what they were using 2,000 years ago. We're very careful not to use modern materials. We've got stone, wood, and earth. This is not concrete. It is mud mixed with lime and ash. The plaster on the walls and also on the seats, the layers above the reeds and the roof, and the mortar between the the stones in the wall are all similar mixtures in different proportions of natural materials like these. Synagogues in the first century and today were not exclusively religious places, but we think even more so in the first century. You may not have realized, but the name synagogue, both in Greek, synagoge, refers to gathering together, and even in Hebrew also. Beit Knesset refers to a house of gathering or of assembly. And so as their name implies, we believe that they had this broader function. Also, remember that we still have the temple in Jerusalem as a specific place for religious services, for offering sacrifices, etc. But we know that Shabbat is the most important day, Saturday. The community gathers together to hear the Word of God read publicly and to hear teaching about the Bible. And so in Luke 4, we have Jesus coming back to Nazareth where he grew up, to the synagogue on the Sabbath day, which was his custom, He stands up to read. He's handed the scroll of Isaiah. He opens it up and he finds the place that is written, "The Spirit of the Lord is upon me, because he has anointed me to preach good news to the poor. He has sent me to heal the brokenhearted, release captives, give sight to the blind, set those who are oppressed free, and declare the year of God's favor." He rolls up the scroll, he gives it back, and he sits down. And he declares to them, "Today these scriptures have been fulfilled in your hearing." Their first response is quite positive. They say, "Look at the gracious words, the good words that are coming out of his mouth." But just 2 or 3 minutes later, they're not so happy with him. If you remember, you know Luke 4? No? Okay. If you remember, Jesus ends his mini sermon with 2 stories, after which they're ready to kill him. They want to throw him off of a cliff. But these 2 stories, Jesus didn't invent, right? They're from the book of Kings. I'll just remind you, right? In brief, God saves a widow from starving in a famine through the prophet Elijah. And God heals Naaman, who has a terrible skin disease, leprosy. Okay, these are nice stories. God is doing miracles. What's the problem? There is something about this widow and Naaman that the people listening to Jesus really don't appreciate. What is that?
Not Jewish.
Yes, they're both not Jewish. Let's remember, when Jesus shows up 2,000 years ago, the Jewish people have been ruled for most of the last 600 years by foreigners. You can imagine they'd be pretty tired of this. They want the Savior to show up, the Messiah that the prophets have foretold. But they're looking for a political Messiah. They want the Messiah to come and kick out these darn Romans who are oppressing them and sit on the throne of David, be their rightful king. And here comes Jesus, and he says, "I got good news. It's written about me." In other words, I am that Messiah. Just a little small thing. I've come to save people like Naaman. Remember, Naaman wasn't just not Jewish. He was the head of the enemy army. Wait, Jesus. What exactly are you trying to tell us? You're going to heal and save our worst enemies like the Romans who are oppressing us? See, what Jesus is teaching that day contradicts all their hopes. Everything that they've been expecting that the Messiah would do, and he finally shows up. This is interesting, because today, all of us, all of our societies, aren't we so busy looking for political messiahs to our problems, instead of the heart of the matter, which is what Jesus came to do, deal with the sin issue in the heart of every man and every woman. Interesting. They are severely offended because this is totally against all their expectations. And so they decide Jesus is some kind of false teacher or a false Messiah, and therefore worthy of death. And so they take him out to kill him. According to the New Testament, Jesus is not a false Messiah. And it's not his time to die. And it's not the method that the prophets of the Hebrew Scriptures have foretold for his death. And so Luke very simply tells us Jesus passes through the angry crowd and he leaves Nazareth. To them, what Jesus is teaching sounds probably like some of the worst news they could imagine. But I hope that we understand today. This is wonderful news. Anybody. It doesn't matter if you're Jewish or you're not Jewish. If you're young or you're not so young. What you've done or what you've not done. If you're willing to accept what Jesus did on that cross and make him the Lord of your life, you can enter the kingdom of heaven. Our symbol and logo here at Nazareth Village is this simple little kind of oil lamp. We've chosen this because Jesus says, "I am the light of the world." And also because we found many of these in archaeological digs from Jesus' time 2,000 years ago. We would like to give you a little oil lamp to remember your visit with us today. We hope it serves as a reminder that you came here, maybe of something new that you learned today, but also we hope that you remember that Jesus says, "You are the lights of the world." We hope that you take the light with you and spread it into this needy world we live in. Thank you for coming, and God bless you.